Hello and welcome to another edition of Spindle TV. My name is Laney. I'm going to be your host this evening. How are y'all doing this evening? Oh my goodness gracious. So tonight we're going to kind of wrap up. This is going to be our last live event for the year. This is kind of my one time a year where I can take the last couple of weeks of the year off and just kind of think about next year, kind of plan and figure out what I want to do with the channel and with life, with business and things like that. Get to spend time with family for the holidays and all of that happy stuff. So tonight, and if you'll just bear with me just a moment, I want to tighten up my internet signal. We'll get it to connect to a better signal in just a second. But I'd like to go over a couple of projects with everyone, and I'd like to kind of finish on a fun note. We're going to kind of do a holiday sign tonight, and then we're going to also talk about some board games and stuff. There's still time, believe it or not, there's still a few days left before Christmas for some last minute gift ideas, and I got a pretty fun little game that's there's still a possibility of it getting done in time and everything to make it happen. Let's see here. See if I can get the internet from StreamYard to connect a little bit faster and make everything good again. Let's see here. So as we wrap up the year's end, we end on a bit of a positive note. We broke 11,000 subscribers on this channel, which is, a great accomplishment for such a young channel and everything. And I owe it all to you all that are sticking with me, and hopefully learning something from everything that we're doing here. And I'm really, my goal for this end of the year is kind of figure out where Spindle TV is heading. I really would like to see this channel end up in the shop a lot more this coming year and everything, rather than just being in the office on the Vectric software. I'd like to see a little bit more action in the shop and on the CNCs and things this year, and really kind of develop it into a little bit of a day in the life type channel where you're learning stuff on the CNC, you're learning stuff in the Vectric software, and you're just it's just an all-around versatile training channel. I'd like to see that happen, so I'll be kind of focusing on what it'll take to make that, to accomplish that. Let me see here. Is my should be going good. I'm not sure. StreamYard is, and that's another thing I want to find out. I'm going to figure out a better way to stream, because getting too many technical difficulties over the year. So I want to be better at that. So my New Year's, it's a way to start new. And thanks for the congratulations. I appreciate that. And 11,000 is nothing, it's a good start for, like I said, for a young channel. My other YouTube channel, I have over 104,000 subscribers on that. That's my woodworking channel where I teach woodworking and stuff. But I've been away from that channel for a long time, building this channel up. I stepped, I haven't been out building as much, in the shop and things. And so, like I said, the last part of this year is kind of my time to reflect on where I've been, and where I'd like to be heading and stuff like that, where I want to take my social media and things. So I hope you all have a blessed and happy end of the year and holiday season and upcoming new year and everything. And we're going to do the same thing here at my family and with me and Digital Wood Carver. And Build It TV LLC is actually my company's name. Build It TV, and Spindle TV is an umbrella under the Build It TV umbrella. So we'll see what happens there and all. All right. So the project, it's going to be a mix. We're going to do a sign first, kind of a holiday sign. I'd like to be able to kind of do that with you all and end on that note for people that are just getting into the software, and they're just starting with sign making and things like that. I want to kind of do a fun little Christmas sign to end that. But then I also want to got a cool fun game that I'd like to try to give you all the information on and the links to where to buy the necessary little things for it and stuff like that. And who knows, it might be something that goes out, or that can still go out by the 25th, by the time Santa gets here. Ronnie, the first week of January, we'll be back after the first of the year. So it's going to be Thursday evening, and it's going to be after, it'll be the first Thursday after the first of the year. I'm not sure. Let me see when the first is here. So January 1st is Wednesday. We'll probably be back starting the January 9th, the second week of January. We'll start going strong January 9th and everything. And that'll give me this last little bit of December and the first part of January to figure out game plan for this channel, because I really want to grow this channel. It took me, this channel just had a birthday too. Yesterday, hold on a second. Yesterday was Spindle TV's. Give me just a second. I should know this about my own channel. November 17th. So no, it's not yet. November 17th. Coming up is no, we're already sorry. we're already past November 17th, so it wasn't yesterday. November 17th of 2017. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 7 years. It took 7 years is how long Spindle TV channel has been going since 2017. And we hit a milestone with 11,000 subscribers, and I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it, double and triple and things next year, so we can see what happens with that and everything, But yeah, 2017. Wow, I didn't realize it was that long. But November 17th was my birthday, this channel's birthday and everything. So. I've been YouTube streaming with my other woodworking channel since 2010, with it being 2024. What is that? 14 years? Yeah, 14 years I've been at this. January 9th we'll start back up again. But in the meantime, I'll try to release some project videos or something like that between now and then. I can't make any promises. We'll see what we can come up with and everything. All right. Well, that being said, first of all, thank you all very much for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me for this past year. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I really, really do. You have no idea. Without your support, your views and everything, this is a major part of my income, YouTube, paying me for the ads and all that stuff and everything. And the Spindle TV exclusive members, you're out there watching. I see you right there and everything. That monthly subscription, it helps put food on the table for me and the family. So thank you all for that. It's a wonderful appreciation and everything. And with that being said, let's switch over to the computer channel. Let's get into it. So we are going to turn on this and switch over there. Whoa, there's that game that we're talking about. All right, so I'll see you over there in just a second. Let's make sure that we got everything going. We'll try to get it. We'll try to get the streaming channel to, again, we'll see if we can get that internet just a rocking and rolling and staying somewhat stable. If it's blurry and everything, we'll see what we can do. So let me jump down here in the bottom corner and everything. All right, nostalgia time. How many as kids? Show of hands while I bring your comments and things up on the other screen. Show of hands. How many played Battleship when you were kids? How many of you played Battleship when you were a kid and everything? It was one of my favorite games, and I thought, you know what, a wooden Battleship game would be bad to the bone to have and be able to make. Let me get you all, bear with me while I get the comments and everything up on the screen. And let me see if I can get things spun back around here. There we go. All right, let's see. Content, all my live content. Click on that. There's everybody. Everybody. Wonderful. Hey, got some hands up. Yeah, man, still do. Battleship is a cool, fun game. And, you know, there's the original Battleship game and everything. But there are wooden Battleship games out there. And I thought, you know what? With marbles and jokers, one of my favorite wooden board games and everything. Aggravation is another good one, but marbles and jokers, it's kind of a mixture of cards and marbles and things. Euchre, I love playing euchre. It's a fun game. But Battleship, man, it's generally a two-person game, right? And you have your submarine, your carrier, your battle cruiser. There's about 5 boats altogether. And the object is it's a coordinate game system. You know, E7, and you try to hit, the other person's battleship and everything. So what I have for you all is let's see here. Let's go to this one. Let's get rid of that. That was my announcement for the link, so y'all could watch the link and everything. I've got that, and then let's go right click and rules of Battleship here. Cool beans. Battleship, there you've got your carrier, your battleship, your cruiser, submarine, and your destroyer, right? And so we're going to be laying out these little, we're going to be making the little parts that we'll cut out that'll represent the, the submarine, the destroyer, the cruiser, the battleship. We're not going to be carving actual battleships and building them or anything like that. Just small little game pieces. And so I got the rules for anyone that has never played Battleship. I've got some rules for you. And that will help with playing the game. And I also have some links to share with you for the possibility of some pegs, possible pegs that could be used and everything. Now, the game of Battleship, the 2-person game of Battleship originally includes 168 white pegs and 84 red pegs, right? And the little pegs will fit into the game board. And I have 2 size holes we'll talk about in a minute. I have an 1/8-inch hole, or I have a 3/16-inch hole, depending on which pegs that one would get and everything. But let's take a look at really quickly here, let's take a look at that's a font I want to talk to you about. That's the rules of a font I want to talk to you about later. But let's take a look at these peg options on Amazon. So let's go over here and pop up Amazon. And the thing about it is one possibility for a peg is a wooden, it's actually a wooden axle. It's an axle peg. This one is got about 13/16 in lengths, and it fits a 3/16 hole. It's the smallest of, there's 3/16 quarter and 3/8 and things like that when it comes to these axle pegs. And this is a 25 pack for $8.99. Now, and it will arrive before Christmas as far as the orders and stuff. And the thing of it is you know, it's 25, and there's a total of 252 pegs, and 84 of these these pegs that would be ordered have to be painted red. You know, they got to be painted red, because there's red and white. So I figured natural or neutral would probably could represent the white, and then red, or it could be any color, right? Well, there's all kinds of, when you're typing in, when you are searching wood game pegs, or just game pegs, period. There's all types of game pegs and different things. And there's ones with different colors and all of that wonderful jazz and stuff when you're looking at game pegs and everything. But you think about the price on them and stuff, and that's the most expensive part, is the pegs of this game. Really, it really is. Getting, to a total of, per game, 252 pegs per game, right? Is 164 white pegs and 84 red pegs. But the wooden pegs, these are an option, pretty much so. And I've got the links for that. But on another note, we actually have some Battleship pegs. So if we go to this particular Amazon item, we have some generic Battleship pegs of the red and white, the same shape as the the old days and everything. A total of 100 pegs, 40 reds and 60 short whites. So you would only need, basically kind of 2 bags of the reds and 3 bags of the whites and everything. And it might come out, a little bit cheaper. And again, these could be ordered in time. They're going to arrive between now and Christmas Eve kind of thing. So there's that possibility. So we might be a little late in the game for making, things, but who knows? I'm going to provide both of these links in the chat in case somebody gets an idea of oh, I'm going to give that a shot kind of deal or whatever. So the first link in the chat is going to be the wooden pegs. So let's throw that. Let's paste that in the chat. So that'll be the first one. That's the wooden pegs. The second is going to be the generic Battleship pegs, the plastic Battleship pegs. And we'll throw that in there too as well. Now, I have to admit, on the plastic Battleship pegs, I kind of think that's a little bit of a better deal. But that being said, in the descriptions and everything, it does not indicate the size of the hole that the peg fits in. And I didn't see anywhere where it says the size of the hole that the peg fits in. And I'm going to assume it's an 1/8 inch hole. So that's why the wooden pegs is a 3/16 hole. These, I'm going to assume it's an 1/8 inch hole. That's why in the board, in the design, I'm going to have, it'll be either one of the two options. I'm going to assume it's an 1/8 inch hole on those. So that being said, let's first of all, let's take a look at the graphic that I've laid out for you all. Let me turn off the visibility of side 2 to hide that shadow in the background for a moment. The text of the word Battleship here, that is courtesy of dafont.com, DAFONT.com. And the particular font is called Gunplay 3D. Now, Gunplay has the, bear with me a second. Mary Beth, that's your phone. I bought somebody a new phone for Christmas, and it's ringing, and they don't know how to use it yet. All right, anyway, that would be your new phone. So with Battleship Gunplay 3D and Gunplay regular, Gunplay is a font. It's a font within Dafont, DAFONT.com, and that's the font that I'm using on this particular sign. It's a basically looks like a stencil almost, but this one's 3D, so it kind of has that deep look to it. When it's carved, it kind of gives that that shadowed look in the background and everything. Pretty slick. The stars within the box and everything, just a simple star. Remember, for those of you that might be new, or those of you that are just getting into Vectric and everything, if you're drawing a patriotic star, 38.2 on your inner percentage radius will give you that patriotic star. Anything other than 38.2, you're either going to be a little too heavy or fat on the star, or a little too light. The graphic of the flag and the submarine and carrier and everything, this whole vector and all will be included in the DXF and all. And this is just gives it kind of a nice little touch when you got it colored in. It's a silhouette, if you will, right? You know, kind of that silhouette. And I wanted the flag to represent almost kind of like waves. I know I'm a little high over here, but still give that illusion of kind of like, you know, waves and things like that, you know, waves in the ocean, waves in the water, waves in the flag, that kind of deal. So that, I think when the case is closed, that's going to be the cover, right? You know, so a little bit of Aura Mask 813, cover the board, carve it, paint it, pill it, right? And it would be pretty cool. You could add like your family name down here. And if you did add your name or added something here, center the whole thing. Like after you add in that text, recenter the entire graphic so it's nice and uniform and center. Right now, this particular graphic is centered as is. But if you add anything underneath, you know, any kind of little, you know, family name or anything like that, just make sure you center the graphic and stuff in there. And when I was thinking about the design, there's two ways that we could go with this. Number one is we could build a small box frame. This is a 10 by 10 area here, this play area. I believe, yeah, 10 by 10 by 3/4. Now, I would be worried, or I'm a little worried because of being down in Florida and everything, and knowing wood movement and stuff. I'm a little concerned that if I take a board and you know, cut it, let's say a 1 by 12, cut it down to 10 inches by 10 inches, and things that over time, depending on that board, there might be some movement in if it was just the boards that were carved and they had a hinge, you know, to hinge two of those boards together and everything, that, you know, it might warp or skew or something like that, and it wouldn't, you know, do well. So to work around that, you could take and glue this 10 by 10 up You could cut strips, alternate those strips and everything, glue it together to make a little 10 by 10 panel, and alternating the grain to help keep it flat. But that still gives you a a 3/4 inch base, a 3/4 inch top. This is going to hinge up 90 degrees. We'll talk about the hinges in just a minute. It's going to hinge up 90 degrees, and we only have 3/4 of an inch of material, if you will, to cut the pockets for the pegs. And I'm trying to think in my head, 2 game boards, right? It's a two player, opponent game. And I'm thinking about how many pegs, these different sizes, 252 pegs divided by 2, is what, 171 pegs each, right? 171 pegs each. And, how deep of a pocket do I need to mill for that to happen and all? So that leads me to option number 2, where we build a small frame of, let's call it 1 1/4 inch. We cut some 3/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch wide boards, 4 pieces. We can either do a mitered frame, or we can do a half lap joint and everything. And we could kind of frame in this 3/4 inch 10 by 10 as the base and everything in the game area. And we could use that, have 2 frames. Let me show you visually what that would look like. There's a lot of game boards. This isn't this Battleship game isn't a brand new idea. It's not like we're not inventing it, right? There's a lot of wooden Battleship games. If I type in wood Battleship game, and we look at some of the images and everything, you can see laser cut Battleship games. You can see things and all kinds of things. Now, this particular one from Pinterest interested me, but then again, it didn't. This was kind of a box style where the game board was, and they had it backwards. You got your ocean view, and then you got your coordinates up here for where you mark your hits and misses. But anyway, that's okay. It's kind of got a box, and the game board that sits upright in a slot here is the lid. That's one option. A second option on the possibility of the construction and things on the game is a small frame construction. And there's lots of different examples. And so this Wood Tactics barricade game, which is not Battleship, but you see this is 3/4 inch boards, but they got maple and cherry going on here, and they alternating strips. Now that glue up of the alternating strips is going to keep that game board stable. Right, so Wood Tactics got it going on with this game. I don't know what this game is, but Barricade seems like a pretty cool looking game. But the maple and cherry strips in there glued together, it's going to keep it stable and flat. But I got to looking at Barricades, and I got to looking at the depth of these are only 3/4 inch thick pieces here, and I got to looking at the depth of the pockets. There's no way 152 pegs are going to fit into something like that, right? So so that type of construction, I wasn't really sure about and everything. And then the Amazon's Hammer and Axe, Amazon sells a Battleship game made by Hammer and Axe. And Hammer and Axe, their little game board is framed. These wooden strips, there's a half lap joint. Is it a half lap? It's a rabbet joint. God, I gotten stupid over the years. I got to get back to woodworking and building and stuff because I forgot my joints. But it's a rabbet joint. it might be a half lap. We'll call it a half lap anyway. Normally a half lap is both pieces, but the side pieces butt into a notch on the end pieces and everything. And so it's a nice little framed piece, right? And it's got a backer board there and everything. And now this is a small backboard. They're using very short pegs. And that's a possibility kind of too, in all. But I want this to be a decent size game board. So when I'm looking at the construction and all, I'm thinking that the frame pieces are going to be a good way to go. So sorry, long talk. I'm just trying to get like my train of thought when it comes to this game. I'm thinking because of the pockets, you know, the areas that's going to be needed for the pegs and everything. I think, you know, small strips would be a way to go. Now here, that takes me into you know, a second thing. I'm going to lay this out. I'm going to lay this game out as if I didn't have a table saw or something like that, you know. With a table saw, I could rip down the little strips of 1.25 by 3/4 inch thick and to make, you know, and enclose the frame and everything here. But I'm going to lay these parts out with a profile cut out of a board. And that could be cut out on the CNC as if, you know, I didn't have, you know, a table saw. But once we see all the parts and everything, then however you want to do the construction, up to you, right? Now, very important when it comes to the hinging. I want a 90-degree hinge that stops at 90 degrees, that holds the lid up, that's not going to fall back or anything. I need it held up. I can't let my opponent see, you know, my game board and everything. I got to have that 90 degree and all. So that leads me to the third link that I have for you all. We're going to copy this and we'll throw it in the chat. The CNC, the ships are going to be cut out of a CNC, out of the CNC too, but they're not going to be like actual battleships like with guns and stuff. I'll show you what the ships look like. They're going to look like most of the natural, all the other game boards and all, but let's paste that chat in there and everything. On the 1/4 inch pegs, the generic game board pegs, that's the overall size of them. They're 1/4 inch tall, but they don't say what size the little peg hole is. All right, so on that, let's pop over here really quickly and let's open up another tab here and paste this link. And these are the hinges. This comes in a 12 pack for $7.99. It can also arrive before Christmas. And these are 90-degree hinges. So really nice hinges. They come in different colors. They come in a bronze, a brass, or silver. I think silver with a walnut or silver with a cherry piece of wood would look really sharp. Even you know, the silver with a lighter, you know, piece of wood would look really you know, good too. The thing I like about these hinges is they are 90 degrees, but they have a slight, it's almost kind of like just a little bit past 90 degrees, just a little bit past 90 degrees and everything, which is kind of perfect for the game board and everything. So the lid, if we look at the sample boxes here and everything, you can see how the lids just slightly break right past 90 degrees. Let me see if I can, you know, not so much and all, but they are, you know, kind of positive. So they're either closed or they're 90 degrees, just slightly past, kind of so the lid can sit up so it doesn't slam down on your fingers kind of thing, right? So these hinges have an overall length on each, you know, from the tip to the end of each half of the two pieces that make up the hinge. They're 1.18 inches. They're 0.23 inches wide. Which is great, and they're only 0.23 6 millimeters inches thick. 6 millimeter inches. Don't say that out loud. They're only 6 millimeters thick, 0.23 inches in depth and everything. So very easy to make the little slots for the hinges and everything. So that's the link. That's the third link that I gave you. And then half inch by 250. So the John says he found a description where the pegs say half inch by 250. I don't know. I'd have to see it. Half inch by 0.25 by 1/4 of an inch. Half inch wide on that. That's a pretty big old peg. But we'll take that half inch by 250 on that. And that was for the pegs here. And the each peg is about a half inch in height, right? So overall half inch in height, right? And as far as, so if they're a half inch tall versus how wide they are, yeah. I don't know, John. We'll have to see. Have to order some in. That's the only ones I could find. But when we look at the game boards and everything, really quickly to go back to the game boards and stuff, you can see that the wooden the ships and things that make ships, they're just kind of wooden shapes and all. We can kind of, somewhat give them a little bit of a shape, but we're not going to go crazy. I'm not going to try to design a submarine tonight or anything like that. When we're looking at the game boards, we have the different holes. Each of your ships and things have different size holes. So the carrier has 5 holes in it, for 5 pegs. The battleship has 4, the cruiser 3, the destroyer 2, so we're just going to make a small little shape to kind of encompass that and everything. All right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 2-sided project right as of right now. The game area and stuff, I've got it set up for a 10 by 10 by 3/4 to start off with. I'm going to be touching off on the surface on each side, starting in the bottom left corner, and I'll be flipping it along my x-axis. So the let's click OK here. And like I said, the graphic, I'll provide that vector graphic for you. Basically, the gunplay font is from dafont.com. I'll provide a link to that as well, so you can download that. And it's good for both personal or commercial use. Gunplay is. And the stars and stripe basically is just a series of stars and stripe to kind of match the flag and in the carrier graphic and stuff. I don't think I can step it back, but let me see if I can show this. The process of the graphic and everything, if we have like the cruiser and everything to come into the stripe, so the flag, the wavy flag vector is one, the stripes and everything are one vector. And let me see if, bear with me a second, and let me see if, let me see. the give me just a moment in time. I can't see. Was I smart enough to save the vectors? Did I save the vectors? Dun, 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 dun. Copy. Where's it going to go? Where's it going to go when I paste? Yeah. Okay. So, oh, there's a little speck right there. Delete that. All right. So this is the flag, kind of the wavy flag vector. And let's size that up a little bit. Now, give me just a second in time. I should have DXF these. If you ever create graphics and all, export them bad boys out as a DXF so you have them in the, like if you ever need them in the future and all that good stuff. I don't. Oh, let's see here. Submarine and carrier. I got to do something with my TVs. I got my big TV hanging. If you see me looking over here, you know, it's because I got the other TV over over my head, and I got to figure out something. That's another thing I got to kind of figure out in life. All right, let's bring that one. Let's see where that one's going to land. Where are you going to land? Over here. Okay, that's good. All right. So let me show this. Let's move this out of the way for a minute. And let's bring our flag vector for those of you, you know, as far as blending and all that stuff. Okay. So let's size this up, show you how this first graphic and everything is made. Size this vector up, and I'm going to move it here. And then the flag vector, first of all, let's group this top section together so it's not all in pieces. And the same thing with the flag here, let's group it together so it's not in pieces. Size this up. I'm going to hold the shift key and size this up. Pick your size. It doesn't matter, you know, and everything, what size you want and stuff. And when it comes to the graphic, let's try to center these two up. All right. Now, when it comes to this and everything, in order to blend these two together to create this graphic of this one uniform carving and everything, is we need a boundary, and we need a boundary to trim to. So if we select this upper graphic and everything here, and we really only need to select the outside profile. So I'm going to just ungroup this so that I can select this line here. And this line literally goes all the way around the entire graphic. And so that's perfect for me because I want to offset it outward a particular distance. And in my case, I'm just going to go a 1/16 of an inch outward, and I want to select a new. So when it creates that boundary, I want it to select that new boundary so I don't have to select it again, right? Kind of thing. So I know which one it is and all that good stuff. So now I have this boundary, okay? Now on the flag, this is the item that I want to trim. I need to trim the stripes away and everything and get rid of everything of the flag that's inside the boundary that I just created. So it gives the illusion of the two items being one. And it gives the illusion of the ship and the submarine being on top of the flag, if you will. So if I select the flag first, and I hold the shift key down and I select that boundary last, the last item that I select becomes the trimming boundary. I can now use the trim tool, not the scissors, but the trim tool. It looks like a barber pole or candy cane on that icon there. With it being Christmas, we'll consider it a candy cane, if you will. And I need to clear everything inside the boundary. That means that boundary line, I need to clear away everything of the flag that's inside that boundary line and redraw those vectors, delete what's inside and redraw the vectors, closing them off around that boundary. So when I select the flag first, select that boundary last, and hit clear inside a boundary, it's going to remove everything that's within that boundary. And then now I can get rid of the boundary line itself. I don't need it anymore. It served its purpose, so I can delete that. And now we have that perfect boundary and of the flag and everything kind of going. It's like the ships are going through the wavy flag, like through the ocean, right? And so when we come in here, this would be a V-carve style toolpath. So we come in and do a V-carve toolpath. I'll just go a 1/16 of an inch deep for right now. We'll calculate that and reset the preview and preview the new one. And we're going to paint it black. We'll just fill it in with black to paint it. Let me turn the color off when it's finished. So we'll turn the color off first just so we can see the carving and everything. And so the stripes are getting carved and the dark black areas of the ship are being carved. The flat spots here are where my 1/8 inch bit can fit. The kind of textured areas are where my V-bit has to do the carving and all because the 1/8 inch end mill couldn't fit in those areas. But when I paint it in, it kind of gives this illusion. And it really creates a really nice graphic. I was going to say badass graphic, but it's a really nice graphic. Just kind of it's cool. I think. I don't know. I think it's worthy of a being on the front of a Battleship game, right? So then now I can center that left to right. And my next step would be to draw a rectangle here. And I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to make that rectangle. I want it to kind of end. Right here. And I want it to start right there. And I'm going to move it down a 1/16 of an inch, just like my offset was, on that boundary. So I'm going to move relative. I'm going to go down negative 0.0625. Create that there. And then I'm going to add a star in here. So I can come in and size up a star that, however big I think, should be in there. And then I'm going to, in my case, I did you could do 13 star, you can do whatever you want, right? So it's just, all we're doing is just trying to do some stars. So I'm going to hold down my control key and drag out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, now I'm going to select these stars. I'm going to hold down the shift key. I'm going to select the rectangle last, and I'm going to align them to the center of that rectangle. They're all stacked on top of each other right now. And then I'm going to space them inside that last vector, inside that rectangle, horizontally. So we have vertical or horizontal. And that's going to create that equal distance spacing in between the left to right and the right of each star. Equal distance spacing, and that kind of creates that banner. Once that banner is created, then we would come in here and hold down the control key and drag out a second banner. And then our text will lay in the middle here. Now, what I like to do to center the text in between this area is I'll draw a line at the end here, connecting that together. This way, when I bring the text and type the text in here, let's go Battleship. I'll bring that in there. I'm going to stretch it out. Now, to make sure, like if my text was too high on one side and not centered in here, one of the things that I could do is I could select my text object, hold down the shift key and select this line that I created, and then align up and down to that last item, that line being the last item, so I can center it up and down. So it centers it right on that line, which is, spaced in between these two parts, and it gives me the perfect spacing on the top and the bottom in here. So that graphic for the front cover and everything, that is how that was created, right? So that kind of deal. Alrighty. All right. So let's move that out. We'll move this one in. I don't know why, but they're both the same pretty much, but that's okay. Okay. So that is, our graphic, and I'll export this whole graphic out as an DXF and a SVG. Battleship DXF. Let's go into the year project here, and then same thing. We'll export it out as an SVG for those that can't import DXFs into whatever program they're using. Now we'll have both versions, DXF and SVG, of that graphic right there. What? Yeah. All right. There you go. All right. Now let's turn on side 2 of this bad boy and flip it on over here to side 2. We'll turn off the visibility so we don't see the graphic in the background. All right, so here, this is our gameplay, our kind of our tracking board, if you will. Bear with me just a second. This is a tracking board. This will be in the upright. So on the 90 degrees, and you have your ocean play, which is going to be the same grid, but down below, and then we have the grid up so we can track our misses and hits. When we call out, C4, if we miss, we're going to mark that spot on the upright. We're going to mark that play area with a white peg indicating a miss so we don't call that number again, right? If we hit, then, we can mark that location with a red peg to symbolize a hit so we can start to strategize our gameplay area and everything. Now, in a standard game of Battleship, for those that are not, you know, in our generations and the older generations and all, in a standard game of Battleship, normally, if you call out C7, the opponent would call out, you know, whether it's a hit or a miss, unless you're playing the Fog of War version. If you're playing the Fog of War version, they don't call out, you know, hits or misses, and you're kind of left blind, right? And everything. So with when it comes to the rules, in the rules and everything, the a ship is considered sunk when it's hit, right? You know, and everything. But let's talk about Fog of War. So you don't have to announce the type of ship. Normally, you know, you sunk my battleship, right? So you don't have to call out, you know, you sunk my submarine or you destroyed my destroyer, that kind of thing. You know, you don't have to announce the type of ship it is, only whether it's a hit or a miss. This increases it, you know, because if I know that I've sunken your battleship, which is 5 pegs, and all you have is your destroyer, your carrier, your submarine, and things like that, which is 4, 3, and 2 pegs, that type of thing. If I don't know what ship I've eliminated, it could mess with how I strategize, you know, the call outs and everything. So Fog of War, I said you don't call out your hits and misses. That was misspoken. You don't call out your ship, you know, that got hit or missed. You know, you don't call out the ship that was hit. You just call out the hit or miss, and that increases, you know, the chances of, you know, the opponent deducing, you know, the placement and everything. Now, there's other types of gameplay, salvos, special weapons, and things like that, where you can special weapons play introduces things like airstrikes and torpedoes and stuff like that. You can learn about all that stuff as you on YouTube, right? So this is our game player where we mark with our white or red pegs after we call out whether, you know, we mark our hits and misses and stuff. Now, we're going to have a similar game board down below called our ocean field. And this is where we're going to put our ships in things. So we're basically going to have a duplicate of this. So I'm going to create a second sheet. This will... I want to use the proper terms here. Give me just a second. We have our, let me come back up here. What? We have our ocean grid, and then we have our coordinates. Let's see here. Ocean grid. And then the opponent marks on there, you know, we'll just call it the coordinate grid because I don't see the other name for it. But the ocean grid is the one the ships are on. So we're going to create a second sheet, same size. And we'll call this our ocean grid. Ocean grid. Okay. We're going to take this here and we're going to copy to a sheet ocean grid. Throw that over there. Wonderful. And that will be that. Now, if we zoom in very closely here, let me show you the grids and all. Basically, what I have on this is a 10 by 10 area. We're going to have hinges. Remember now, we're going to have a frame. We're going to build out a frame, right? So the frame piece, let me move this aside for a minute. Let me move this line aside for a minute. We'll talk about that later. So my side pieces on the frame are going to be, you can go 1/2 inch wide, you can go 3/4 inch, whatever you want. You know, think about your game area and all that stuff. In this case, I'm going to go 3/4, and we're going to have put this here. We'll resize everything in just a shake of a cat's tail. Hold down the control key, throw this over here. I'm going to take and I'm going to draw another one here. Hold down the control key. Drag that up to there. Imagine kind of a framed in area. Now, on the joinery, here, we're simply going to come in and we will do this. This will make sense in 2 seconds here. We're going to move this up for just a moment. And we'll draw a line down here. This will make sense in just a moment. I'm going to take these 3 items here, or these 2 items right here, and I'm going to mirror them to the other side. I'm going to create a mirrored copy, flip about job center, and flip them horizontally. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to come in here and trim this away and trim that excess away. And I'm going to trim that away. And that's going to create that little notch right there. We're going to do the same thing over here. Let me move this up out of the way for a minute. Take our scissors, trim that away, trim that excess away, get rid of that line. And now basically with that line and shape and all, I've created a piece that, you know, represents that front piece. It's going to be the back piece as well that has that nice little notch in there that my side pieces will end up butting into, right? So they'll end up gluing in to here, right? Let's get this all back up to here. And then we're going to get rid of this rectangle. We're going to take this one and we're going to flip it horizontally or vertically, sorry, this time. And then we're going to take both of our shapes, select that one, hold down the shift key, select this one. And then we're going to grab it in the middle and bring them both up and snap them to there. And now I have my 4 frame pieces. So this will at least on the frame pieces, I can at least have the parts, you know, if I was going to cut out of a board. Let's rotate that around. Rotate this one around. Okay, and so these parts and everything, we have, they're about 11.5 inches in length on the front and back pieces. They are 10 3/4 inches on the 2 side pieces. They're going to be 3/4 inch thick, and they're going to be, as far as wide, when they're sitting on their side, that'll be how tall they are, 1.25 inches, right? So on these parts here, and we're looking at a side view, we would have to, I'm going to draw these out if we were cutting them out of a flat board. We'll cut out those frame pieces in just a moment. Now, let me take these frame pieces really quickly and make a copy of them just for a second. We'll set them over aside for a minute because I really want to put them back into position for a minute so that I can show the hinge layout and everything on these parts and stuff. And so the Snap to it. Okay. Our hinges on this glue up, right? Our hinges are going to, be here. So they are going to be, they're going to be 0.23 inches by 1.18. And we would take that part and mirror it. But before I mirror it, there's a radius on that hinge. Now this is 0.23 inches, so it's not a quarter of an inch, it's not with an 1/8 inch radius and all that. It's 6 millimeters. Now we could be really specific on this. It is, most likely it's a metric, it's 6 millimeters. And they most likely round it up or they round it down or something when they kind of laid out the inches. So on its size, I can go ahead and type in 6 millimeters, right? Times the letter I, and that's 0.23622 to be exact, 6 millimeters. So one of those numbers they fudged on in the Amazon order, right? It's either going to be 0.23622 inches wide, 6 millimeters, or it's going to be 0.23 inches wide. Which one is it? It can't be both because there's a 0.00622 inch discrepancy somewhere, which isn't much. It's only like 2 human hairs, so we're not going to split hairs on this one. But the first things first is if I draw a line on this 3/4 inch wide piece here, I can select this rectangle and I can select this line and I can align it left to right to get it centered, kind of indicating where it's going to be. It's not going to be part of a toolpath or anything on this particular piece. But when I cut the parts out, they're going to end up being turned on their side, and I absolutely can clamp them on the table, CNC table, and cut the mortises, the hinge mortises out 100%. Or I could take my hinge piece with my marking knife. I can mark it, and I can use chisels, in old school it, right? By hand. Either way, there's going to need to be a hinge mortise on this kind of frame, for these hinges and everything. And that's going to be on both the top and the bottom, right? So I can take this part. First of all, we were talking about the radius. If we look at the hinge itself and everything, it's got this radius here on the end, and it's just a nice little arch and everything. So all we have to do to get that is in Vectric, we just go into node editing, and then we simply right click and turn it to an arc, and it'll kind of create that natural arc on its own there and everything. So and then again, the overall length of this, they're estimating it to be to the hinge pin and everything 1.18 inches. But I'd love to have them in stock or in hand before I cut the mortises, because the last thing I'd want is to put a mortise in and have a big freaking open gap right in the front, an eyesore and all that stuff. And I'd want to, just really, it's calling for 6 millimeter thickness and stuff like that. I'd want to guarantee that too. So I'd want to order those parts in and have them before I did any of that kind of work. Most everybody in this group, most everybody in here watching is a woodworker in some form or fashion. Now, some of you may only have never done woodworking in the past, and you bought a CNC machine, and that's all you do is you use your CNC machine to make some beautiful masterpieces of your own, right? But you started out on the CNC. You didn't start out with hand tools or power tools or hammers and nails and whatever. I don't know everybody's background and stuff like that, but for the ones that do have a woodworking background and stuff, you know, they're very familiar with, gluing up frames and, you know, chisel work and all for, you know, hinge mortises and stuff like that. For those of you that aren't, you know, it might be something where you only have a CNC machine and your CNC is your go-to tool to do everything, right? You know, I don't have chisels laying, I don't have saws, I don't have this, I don't have that, you know, and that's, hey, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You just, you know, you get the parts in hand, right? Those hinges in hand, get yourself a set of calipers or what have you, measure them, and then you set up your cuts accordingly. Now, imagine, if you will, that let's say I'm looking at the top down right now, and let's say that, you know, on my part, my side piece here, let's say that this hinge was laid out just like this, and I could mark my hinges on my board. I can have my pieces laid up on their side, clamped together, you know, sitting on my workbench and stuff. I can lay the hinge out, and I can take my marking knife and I can mark it out, you know, perfectly. And then I can take my measurements and I can bring those measurements over to Vectric to lay out my parts, because you got to think about this frame. Let's come over here. Let's grab all of this. And let's think about this frame, like, you know, when it's just a frame, it's hollow, it's like a picture frame, right? This frame, you know, glue up. On our back side here, our mortise is going to be cutting through two of these pieces, right? 1/4 inch deep, but it's going to be cutting through two of these pieces, through the side edge of these pieces and everything. So if I had my parts, you know, already cut out, and I can cut, we're going to lay them out so they can be cut on the CNC kind of thing. But I had my parts laid out. I put them up on their side. I kind of clamped them together in this frame fashion. And now I'm going to take my hinge. I'm going to mark out my hinge spot and everything. And then I'm going to take my measurements, and I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to translate those measurements into my drawing. Now, once I have those measurements, let's pretend that this is my measurement and everything is laid out as it should be. Well, now I'm going to take basically, I'm going to hit Control C, Control V, copy and paste. I have two of these now here. And one of them, it's going to go the same place on the other side. I only have to measure and mark one, right? Because it's going to match the other side, hopefully. And also what I'm going to do is I'll take that one. And since I already made a copy of it right now, I don't need to create a mirror copy. I'm just going to flip it horizontally. But I want to flip it about the center, and I'm not really laid out centered on my job anymore. I'm up here in gray space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a line, and I'm going to find the center here. Just draw a line there. Wonderful. I'm going to select that vector, hold down the shift key, select that line. And when I mirror this, I'm going to flip it about the line. I'm going to choose flip about the line to throw that over there on the other side. Okay. Now, both frames for the top and the bottom are going to be identical. So basically, imagine, if you will, let's take this and hold down the Control key, drag this up. Let's take this bad boy here. I'm going to hit the letter V to flip that horizontally. And imagine, if you will, on our frame, imagine that this is opened full splay, you know, like side to side. That's what we're looking at here in this drawing right now, right? So we have this hinge kind of, you know, full on open. Of course, these are 90-degree hinges. They only open to just a little past 90 degrees, but visually, this is what we're looking at. So now that I have these vectors and everything, you know, and let's say I have these layout, let's get the top out of here so we're not confused as to what's going on here. Let's come in here and just grab this top piece and just set it, let's set it over here for right now. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control C to copy, Control V to paste. On this, same thing over here, Control C, Control V to paste. And now I can take each one of these two copies that I have along with this piece, and I can move that up here, okay? And that gives me the vector where I'm going to be, needing to create my little notch. There's going to be a notch there. Now, it's not going to be this whole thing right here. So I can go into node editing. I can turn that back into a line, and I can bring this down respectively so that my router bit can just come in and do a small pocket in here, milling this material away 1/4 inch deep, right? Same thing here. Just turn this into a line, grab these two pieces, drag that up, and we're just going to a little bit of an overhang so the bit goes past to cut that part. So now that is that piece right there, right? Now here on this particular part, I can just go into node editing and I can drag this part down. I just need a little bit of an overlap to create the pocket here. This line is not in, hold on a second. This line can go away. Same thing here. Grab these two nodes, pull them down ever so slightly, just creating that pocket cut. So now I have these parts. Get out of node editing. And imagine, if you will, oops, let's grab just these parts. Imagine, if you will, if I set those two off to the side here, and I have these two parts. Now remember, only one of them is getting this notch, milled into it and everything, right? And the I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees here, and I'm just going to kind of center that up to the best of my ability. Get them all centered, aligned, centered, and then I'm going to throw like a clamp on them. I can set them on the table. Now, there is enough room for my router bit to come down in here and cut this mortise out, and then come on here and cut this mortise and this mortise without the bit, cutting into my parts or anything like that. So I'm not worried about my router bit hitting. It's just going to come down, mill this pocket out 1/4 inch deep. It's going to raise up, come and cut this pocket, raise up, come and cut this pocket, all while my pieces are up on their edge. They're clamped together and they are centered on one another. And I'll probably set this job up to start off in the center so it knows exactly where to go to cut those parts out. Now, if I wanted to start off at the bottom left corner, then I would absolutely make sure that my parts are all lined up on the corner and everything. So if I do zero out on the corner, then it knows exactly where to go. Don't accidentally move your part without moving all the pieces. Let's try that again. But if I was going to zero it on the corner, it needs to know exactly where to go to cut those parts out and everything, right? So whatever's easiest for you, but we can cut the parts out. We'll lay them out so they can be cut out, and then they can be turned up on their side, and the mortises could, you could do a dry run, get your mortises marked out. If you're just new to this, I'm kind of giving you the run through. And then once you have your markings and everything, you can transfer those markings and measurements over to your vector drawing, but you're going to be laying this out like this. So imagine if you had these 3 items here. Set your job up to where it's starting in the center, and so it knows where to come over and cut those mortises, right? On your CNC. You can do all 6 pieces. 2 of them aren't getting mortises, the 2 fronts, but both frames, the top and the bottom, are the same, right? So you can duplicate this, right? So we'll duplicate that, right? And this, I could again tape it, blue painter's tape, clamps, I don't care. I just nice, flat, even, and all that good stuff. And then I have all of the vectors for the layouts for my little mortises and things like that to cut those parts and stuff and everything. And then, if you needed your CNC to do those hinge mortises and all, that's how you would do it. Have the parts cut out, make your little frame, don't glue it together, make your little frame, lay it out. Now, one could say, well, can I just glue the whole frame together and then put it on the CNC, then zero out, and then have it go cut the mortises? Yes, you can do that too. Just trying to get everything done and milled before the final glue up, right? But sure, yes, you 100% can do that. You could glue up your frames, have your marks and all that stuff measured out and laid out. You could set up your job and you could just mill the mortises right there with the frames already assembled together, right? So either way, there's multiple ways to skin the cat on this. Not advocating skinning cats, but there's multiple ways to get it done. Whatever works best for you. Everybody has their own kind of method of doing things and stuff. All right, so we have our little hinge mortises we got to think about. After the fact, we have our parts that we have to think about. Now, let's think about those parts because all this, when it comes together, trying to make this quick, I want to get to this sign. All this coming together and everything, we got to have a place for our pegs and all that stuff, right? So what I'm thinking is in our ocean play area, our strategy board, let's call it. We'll just call it a strategy board. I don't know. There's a name for it. Put the name in the chat if y'all know what it is. But the upright board, that's going to be centered on our 10 by 10. The ocean play board over here, the ocean grid, our ocean grid where our ships and everything go, they are going to, don't crash. There we go. Almost scared me. Let me hit save real quick because that scared me a little bit. Save early and save often, ladies and gentlemen. All right. On our ocean play board, we're actually going to have this slightly off center unless you want your game peg pockets. They could actually be, here, right? You could have your, white and red game peg pockets, kind of down here. We would center those on the board. They could be here in this fashion. What I was thinking is on our ocean play board that within our frame, imagine, let's get our frame pieces. Let's go back over here real quick. Wait for it. Let's move these, move to sheet ocean grid. Because I think 10 by 10 is a good, just a portable size and all. I want to kind of stick to that. So let's take this bad boy and drag him there. Let's take this one, drag him there. That was not anywhere near center. There. Rotate that one. Snap him there. Rotate that one. Snap him there. All right. So this is our layout here, right? Now, so on the ocean grid, you could have your game pegs, down here. But what I was thinking would be that we take the ocean grid and just shift it over a bit and take the two parts here and have our pockets on the side for our peg holes. We'll make them a little bit wider. And let's see here. My white pegs, I have more white pegs than I do red pegs. So I'll make the white pegs a little bit bigger. Something about like that. Now I want them centered between the edge of my board and the edge of the gameplay area. So I'm going to draw a line from the edge of the gameplay area to the edge of the board here. Oop. A straight line. This way I can select these items, select that line last, and then I can align left and right to the last item. And I can make sure they're centered left to right. So the same gap is on both sides there. All right. And so I was thinking that, and let's get this gameplay area centered up and down like that. And so this could be our gameplay area. Now, we also have to have not just a place for our red and white pegs, but we also have to have a place for our ships, our carrier, submarine, destroyer, cruiser. We got to have a place to store our ships when they're not in use, right? And so I think that's why originally that this was up a little bit there, because it gave me a place to put a pocket here to store the ships. Now, remember my backboard, give me just a second here. Remember my backboard is 3/4 of an inch thick, right? That piece of material that this grid's getting cut on is 3/4 of an inch thick. My side walls, the frame is 1.25 inches, right? So that gives me my pocket depth, whatever pocket, let's say I make my pocket depth 5/8, 0.625, right? So I have 5/8 of an inch deep pocket, plus I have another 3/4 inch, 1.25 inches, another 1/2 inch of space. So I have plenty of room for, height and everything when these, the ship carriers and all. But when we draw our shapes for our ships and everything, which we're about to do right now, they got to be stored somewhere, right? So we need to make sure that we have plenty of room for storage for these bad boys. And I'm going to go about like that. All right, let's kind of draw out the shapes of our ships and things. Basically, I'm going to take a rectangle. Now, there's 2 holes. Notice this. One is a 3/16 hole. One is an 1/8 inch hole. I don't know which one we're going to be using yet. I haven't decided what pegs, I want to use yet. But I do have both holes drawn out here. And when I send the vectors over, they're going to be in the download link. And you don't have to be a member to download the vectors and stuff like that. But I have both holes here. Only one's going to get used. One of the two, right? One of the two. But on our ships and submarines and carriers and all that stuff, there's going to be 2 pegs coming out of the bottom, little short pegs that fit into these holes so that they actually snap into the grid, either horizontally or vertically. You don't do diagonal. But so the peg holes, not only for the hits and misses, but the underside, there's going to be 2 pegs that need to line up with these holes, and also the game boards the game pieces can snap into the game board. So on our ship now, our carrier has 5 holes. Has 5 holes. And then, the Battleship has 4, submarine is 3, and the destroyer is 2. I keep saying the word carrier. I kept saying carrier instead of cruiser. Your cruiser, not carrier. Well, we have a carrier too, but cruiser. I keep cruiser. So here on our game piece, right? The game piece, they can be bigger. They don't have to be the exact size. The holes have to line up, right? At least 2 of the holes. I'll use this hole and this hole for the game pegs, right? They're going to have to be, they're going to have to match the grid so that they go into the holes, right? So, but as far as the shapes and everything like that, they can have a little bit of a, a decorative shape to them and all in the end. So in here, if I wanted to, I could come in and I could say, let's go to node editing. I could let's see, I could insert a point here, and then I could take these 2 points, use my right arrow key on my keyboard and kind of pull them back a little bit, and turn this to an arc. Now, from 0, I can kind of pull this out, let's say 1/8 of an inch, arc from 0, pull this out 1/8 of an inch so they can kind of match to give me kind of this shape here. And I could do the same thing on the other side, or I could, have one side flat, one side this, whatever the case may be. You can make your ship shapes any way you want to, right? I'm going to just be simple on this, okay? It's going to be the basic kind of shape, and then it's going to be the different sizes and everything. So rinse and repeat really quickly. I can basically, I'm going to cut the vector here and here. And I'm going to delete that. I'm going to flip that to the right. Go into node editing. Now, again, this game board's flat. The ships are going to be stuck on the top. They can be longer. They can be smaller. They don't have to be the same size as the grid, right? And that kind of thing. They could be, whatever you want. Just don't cover another. Try to stay within, like, if I call F1, I want to make sure it's not a hit and everything. So I'm probably just going to, let's try not to do that. I'm probably going to just select that and bring that straight and just go end to end there. Now, if I take this and I select this and this, first of all, and join it together as one closed vector, I can take my holes and this part, hold down my control key and drag that over here. And there's one of my game pieces, okay? So that's going to be my, cruiser and all that stuff, or my carrier. Now, the Battleship is 4 hole spots, right? So I can just come in here and I can use the same piece to kind of lay everything out. So all I'm going to do on the Battleship is I'm going to go into node editing. I'm going to select these end nodes here and literally just drag a straight line back to and snap right to the end of that 4 hole slot, right? Hold down, get out of node editing, hold down the control key. Well, get out of node editing, select all of this, hold down the control key, drag that out. That will be my Battleship. Come in here, go into node editing. I'm actually going to drag these two nodes now as well too. Drag all this straight back, snap it to there. Make sure your smart snapping and geometry snapping is on. Get out of node editing. Select this in these three holes. Hold down the control key. Okay. So I now have my carrier, battleship, cruiser. And that just leaves me with the sub, and my sub is going to be 3 spaces as well, and then the destroyer is 2 spaces. So I need 2 of these 3-space ships. There you go. If you want to change the shape up, you're more than welcome to, right? I'm just giving you some basic, right? Some basic shaping here. Take this, come on down, slide that down to the 2 blocks. Select, get out of node editing mode. Select the 2 circles. Come in here. And alrighty. Now, there's our game pieces. Now, depending on what hole you choose, right? Figure out what hole, depends on what pegs you decide to go with your game and everything. 2 of the holes, in this case on the 3, it'll probably be the 2 outside holes. On the 4, I'd probably have the 2 inside holes, and on the carrier, probably the 2 space holes here. But just 2 of the holes on the destroyer, those are going to we're going to be doing 2 toolpaths, drilling toolpaths going all the way through, and then a profile toolpath cutting them out, right? So these can be all cut out of one board. The drilling toolpaths making the peg holes, whatever size they're going to be, and then through hole all the way through, and then the profile cutout. Now, on the bottom side of these, we're going to be putting in short pegs to go into our holes, but in the top side, you know, our other pegs are going to be going into the top, right, to mark our misses and hits. Now, you can decide, okay, hey, on my, I'm just going to do through holes on the holes that are going to, you know, be the pegs from the bottom and the top, because I want to be able to glue in. You're going to glue in permanent pegs on the bottom that, you know, that short, right, you know, pegs that so these can snap into the game board. You don't have to drill through holes on every single hole. If you're only using 2 of them, just do through holes on that. And then on your other holes, go as deep as you need to for your pegs. You know, 0.375 inches deep, 1/8 inch deep, 1/4 inch deep, that kind of thing, whatever you need to do in all. But on the 2 holes that you're going to be, since we're carving from the top and we're only drilling and then cutting out, and we got our piece done, right? Just go ahead and drill the through holes top down, right? So these parts can be cut out of, imagine if you will, that I have the parts laid out like whatever you want to be. But this general area, just general size right here, you're looking at, you know, 1.5 inches, right? 1.5 inches of material right here from the bottom of this to the top of that, 1.4 inches. So 1.5 inches of material by, you know, 7 inches long. So out of a 1x3 piece of oak or 1x2, whatever, I could cut out all my little game pieces, right? Out of that, you know, nice scrap piece of whatever Make them different colors, make them all the same color. It doesn't matter to me, whatever you want to do. I think what would be cool would be like a dark game board with light colored ships, or a light game board with dark colored ships, right? That contrasting color just to make it look nice. I don't know. But doesn't take a whole lot of wood to cut out that part. So we have, this would be literally the vectors cutting out of one of the boards for your game pieces. And you need, there's 2 players, right? So you need 2 sets. Okay. And again, it could still be a 1x board you're cutting them out of. You just move them over here. And now you need a board that is, I don't know, 2 inches wide by 13 inches long to cut out all the game pieces, right? It doesn't take a whole lot of material to get it done. But you could also have a shorter, wider board. So let's say that laying in your shop, you've got a 1x8 board, which is 7 1/4 inches wide. You would only need 3 1/2 inches of that 7 1/4 to cut out these parts by about 7 inches long, right? So just a nice little square block of scrap wood to cut out those parts, that kind of thing. So here's all your game pieces already done. So that's the game pieces. Now, when it comes to the frames, this is the last little talk here, the game pieces, really quickly. Let's get them kind of laying side by side for a moment. This will make sense of what I'm about to do here. Okay. So imagine my game pieces and everything in my game board, right? My storage and everything. So I got plenty of room for them to sit in there, and they can sit upright. They're only, 3/4 inches thick. My pocket is going to be, let's say, a 1/2 inch, but I have another 1/2 inch of air space up there. So they sit in there perfect and everything. So the square that we have here is enough for our game pieces to kind of lay around. Now, keep in mind that the game pieces are also going to have little pegs sticking out of the bottom of them, which add to the height of how tall they are. But again, we're not going to have long pegs or anything. They're going to be little short pegs that just snap into the game. I'm still going to have plenty of height. If you wanted them to be able to lay on their side, right? They're only 3/4 of an inch thick. So they could lay out on their side, within the pocket with the pegs kind of, interlocking, if you will, that kind of thing. However you want. This rectangle here should be plenty large enough for our storage of our parts. If not, we could always maximize ever so little bit, give ourselves much room. We have plenty of room, right? There's plenty of room. We don't really necessarily have to go that long. We could have a nice small pocket, whatever you need to do, right? So plenty of room for our game pieces, our pegs, red and white pegs, all that wonderful jazz. That's kind of the layout of the bottom piece area. All right. So the, yeah. All right. Now, that leaves our side pieces and everything. I said we were going to cut these out of a board. So let's lay out the board. Let's get a job sheet laid out. I'm going to lay these out of a 1x6, right? So we're going to create a new sheet. This is going to be my frame pieces. On my frame pieces, wait for it. On my frame pieces, the longest piece, my 2 side pieces, are 10 3/8 inches long, roughly. So 12 inches would be suffice. So let's go 12 inches, and then 5.5 is a 1x6, and then from there I think it transitions to like 7.25, 9.25, that kind of thing, 11.25. So 5.5 I believe is a 1x6, 3/4 inches thick. Wonderful. Let's call it what it is. Click OK. All right, so we got that. Now, on the parts and everything, basically all I need is measurements, right? I don't need my actual pieces here because this is kind of a top down. We're looking from the top down. We're actually cutting these laying on their side. So let me switch back over to here. This part here, overall length, is 11.5 inches wide. And my rabbit, if you will, is going to be 3/4, and the depth of the pocket cut is going to be 3/8. Simple enough, easy math. All right, let's come back over here. I jumped a little bit too fast. Hold on 1 second. We got to pop back over here just for a minute. Come on, come on, come on, so we can move on. Stick with me while we do this Christmas sign coming up here in just a few minutes, and we're going to end the year with this. So hang with me tonight a little bit. And then I'll look at your questions in just a moment. Let's get through this, and we're almost done. We just got to lay out the these frame pieces real quick. We have a piece that is going to be 10 3/4 to 10 3/4. Let me write that down so I don't forget. 10.75. And then I said our other pieces were 11.5. Okay, yep, 11.5. All right, all right. So now coming back over to our frame pieces, remember our pieces are going to be 1.25 inches tall when they're up on their edge. So we're cutting them laying on their side, if you will, out of this board. So my first piece is going to have a width of 10.75 and a height of 1.25. We're going to throw that right there. And we'll throw that there. And I need 2 of those. Okay. And then my other piece is going to be 11.5 by 1.25. I might need to do it out of a 1x6 because I didn't do my math right. Oop. I don't need to do it out of 1x6. I just need a longer board. All right. That's fine. Everybody. All right, so bear with me just a second. I need a board that is 24 inches in length. And technically, it's only 3 inches wide, so I could do it out of a 1x4 instead of a 1x6. Yeah. 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 So let's go back and change that really quickly. On our frame pieces, edit. We're going to do a 24 by 3.5, 1x4. See there, we're lowering prices already. Okay. Wait for it. All right, let's go ahead and center them up on the board for right now. All right, first things first is I'm going to be using a 1/4-inch end mill to cut these parts out. So let's throw a 1/4-inch bit right here just to make sure that I have spacing in between these parts, right? So let's give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. Plenty of room there. All right, let's take these parts and center them again, up and down. Perfect. All right, now, so that gives me that. On my 11.5-inch pieces, which are these two, I need to draw a box. This box is going to be 3/4 inches by 1.25 inches. So it's going to be 0.75 inches wide by 1.25 inches long. And this is going to represent, when I snap it to the end here, it's going to represent that rabbet on the end of the board. Well, what we're going to do is we need the bit, we need the router bit to be able to come just past the edges to give me a nice clean pocket. We don't want this edge to move. That's our 3/4. That line can't move. But these we can go past, and here we can go past just to get that nice clean pocket there, right? Now, the parts here are centered, so I should, if all is right with the world, I should be able to mirror that vertically to get that pocket, and that's fine. That's good enough. I'm not quite centered there, so I can back that down. Good, good, good. But I can find the center of my rectangle and draw a line here. Select those two parts. Select that line last and mirror by flipping about that line to put them at that end to create those rabbits. And my tool pass for this part, we will have a pocket cut, cutting 3/8 of an inch deep, 0.75. I'll use a 1/4 inch end mill. And we will calculate that tool path. Basically, this could have just been one long rectangle. It did not need to be. As a matter of fact, let's do that really quickly. I do not need that waste time on that router going up and down and all that. This can just extend right past here. Same thing. This one can extend right past there. All right, one more time. Pocket cut. Calculate. So what this will do is that'll be the rabbit cuts on the end of those two pieces. And I'm just going to repeat these tool paths twice, right? Because I have two frames, upper and lower, on the as 4 times basically, you know, because I have the two game boards. Now, what did I do here? I cut all the way through. Let me see how deep I made my pockets. It should have been 3/8, not 7/5. It should have been 3/7/5. Calculate. Lord have mercy. All right, undo the last and preview that visible tool path. Okay, so then From there, we just simply have a profile cut on all 4 parts. And again, this is just a 1x4, right? If I need 1, 2, 3, 4, I need 4 sets of this for a game, you know, the both games, right? I need 4 sets of these frames, lower, upper, right? So if I'm doing this out of a, you know, 3.5-inch board, I'm getting the 4 points, you know, 3, 6, 9, you know, out of a 1x12, I could cut all 4 parts, right? Or multiple boards, whatever floats your boat. Whatever you create your tool paths on, just run them 4 times, that kind of thing, whatever you want to do. Profile cut. We're going to cut out now on something this small. I would use 2-sided tape. I would not use tabs on this, cutting all the way through the material. We would use a 1/4-inch end mill, cutting on the outside of the line. 2-sided tape, quick and easy. CA glue and painter's tape, which is a method I've really kind of grown to love of the last couple months, that I never really used before. I always used 2-sided tape, but I kind of like the painter's tape and CA glue. And the CA glue and the activator I get from Lowe's. It's $16 for a set, the can, the activator, and the glue, the CA glue. And I get the green painter's tape from Lowe's as well too. And it's phenomenal. So this is going to cut out the 4 parts. And so I will have my, out of this particular 24-inch, 3.5-inch wide, you know, 1x4 board, I will have the 4 parts. I'll have the, you know, 2 end pieces and the 2 side pieces. They're going to be 1.25 inches wide. My 3/4-inch game area, right, is going to be 3/4 and 3/4. They'll get glued and all that stuff to the side, edge glued, face glued, whatever you want to call it. And you could do decorative, you could really decorate it up. You know, you could do dowel pins, you know, contrasting colors. You could do hardware, brass hardware and all, really nice brass hardware to create, like, you know, like a bronze and brass shape, you know, colors and things like that. You could match it. You could do silver, like a stainless steel screws into the sides of the frame to match your hinges. You know, you can start to kind of, you know, think about different, whatever elegant looks, you know, looks the way it needs to look. Now, very quickly, one thing that is not in the wooden games that I've seen online and stuff like that, that I think that we should add to this, is on the upright part of the game, the upright part that opens up at the top, on that piece of the frame at the top, there should be 5 holes that match your peg size holes. Because if you remember playing Battleship, at the top, you would, every time you sunk your opponent's battleship, you would put a red peg at the top. And when you sunk all of the battleships, you know, you have 5 red pegs across the top, and you've won the game, right? When you've sunken all the ships. So that top peg on the top there, it indicates, you know, the ships that you've sunk of the opponents and everything, right? And everything. So it also kind of marks your score, if you will. And it's at the top. It's literally right on the edge at the top, the 5 holes. So on that frame piece and everything, again, we're looking at a side view here. It's this top piece. So it's the back part of this rabbit here. The back part of this rabbit here. In the center, it would have 5 small little holes and a nice little, you know, small little holes and everything there. So on these 2 parts here, these particular 2 parts, there's no sense in making it a 2-sided job where you have to flip it over, because this is going to be glued on its edge, right? It's going to be glued on its edge to a 3/4-inch piece. So you can do through holes, the 5 through holes, you can lay them out. Let's say they were 1/8 inch pegs, And we'll do the 3/16 too, because we don't know which ones we don't know which ones are we're going to end up using, right? So let's say that we have this G for group so they don't move off each other. 1, 2, holding that control key down, 3, 4, 5. Let's pick a size. What size would I want them to be in the center of my board? We'll come in here and just go something about like that. Let's get that. We would take this, and again, it's only going to be on one of the pieces. Hold down the control key, select that, align left to right to get that centered. Then take these here, select that, and align them to center, and then space them equal distance. And there is the toolpath for the holes, and you would pick one or the other, right? Whatever one, and they would be through holes, right? On that, because when you glue your part on, imagine this frame is glued to my 3/4 inch piece, 3/4, something roughly about like that. The inside of the frame, you're not going to see those holes through the inside, right? They're going to be hidden by the game piece, the middle, right? So that way you don't have to flip this over and retape it and blah, 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 and all that stuff, you know, and everything. So there would be the 5 holes for your, you know, when you sink, you know, the carrier, the battleship, the cruiser, the submarine, and the destroyer, right? Your 5, when you got all 5 pegs, you won the game, that kind of thing. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to save this. I'm going to clean this up really well here in just a few minutes after our class, and I'm going to make it available for a digital download, and you can take this discussion and you can take this and kind of create your 2 parts. I'll have all the toolpaths created. I've already got the toolpaths created for the game layout area. Let's pop really quickly over to that right here. Nope, that sheet, not that one. That's the ocean grid. Got to lay out the toolpaths for the pocket cuts on the ocean grid side of things. But the sheet 1, get over there. Wake up. All right, we're going to spend our last 30 minutes talking about our holiday signs. So I've got the toolpaths just so you can see what this will look like. When we preview these toolpaths, preview the visible toolpaths, this will be what the game area looks like. So it's going to be a V-carve, a combination of a V-carve bit and an 1/8 inch end mill, or a 3/16 inch end mill, or an 1/8 inch end mill, do a pocket cut, whatever the case may be. But let me get this. Let me get this spun around here. There we go. All right, so that's going to kind of be our game, you know, area and stuff, you know, depending on what size holes we end up choosing and all. Let me turn the color off so you can just see the carve area. It's just a simple carve area with a V-bit and 1/8 inch end mill. Right now, these little dots you see here, that's showing you where the 1/8 inch bit can fit, and then the V-bit has to do the rest of the flat area and stuff like that. So one of those toolpaths do not belong. Bear with me just a second. This toolpath needs to be deleted. Delete that. All right, really quickly, let me reset that back to a blank board. Had one too many toolpaths there and it made it look ugly. Let's get it straightened out here really quickly. So there's our grid. That's what our grid should look like. Nice little V-cut cutting between the grids there. And then our whole letters are going to be kind of pocketed and raised, you know, so it's going to be milled around them. Then our holes and everything. And again, when we paint that or fill it in or whatever the case may be, it's going to look something a bit like that. On the back side will be the Battleship carving for the front of the hinge. And yeah, so that's that. So the toolpaths are all done. I just got to clean up what we just created, and it'll be ready. It'll be available in a DXF, DWG, DXF, SVG download, as well as a CRV for VCarve, but I'm in version 12. So if you don't have version 12, you'll just use the DXF and the SVGs, and you'll just import them in and lay them out. Okay. Hopefully you got something out of that and you think it's a fun little game, and you might not get it in time for Christmas. I would hope one might, but if not, it's still a fun game to make, and heck, see what they're going for on the market, see if they're sellable or something like that, and make some games and sell them. All right, let's go back here and engrave a battleship and put the 5 holes in for the win. Yeah, there you go. Exactly right. You can do that. English. Talking about those metric or English dimensions. That's let's see. I copy the cool vectors to a new file and say yes, exactly, yes. Export your vectors out, like if you when you trace images and things like that, the cool stuff, save them, so you can use them in the future. You can also save them as a CRV file in your clip art folder and everything, and you can just drag them right. Yeah, like Brooks Martin was saying, you can just drag them right from your clip art folder. If I go to my clip art folder, here I have a folder called custom images. And these are all, just different graphics vectors and everything that are saved on a 6x6 board that I can just drag and drop into a design at any, given point in time and stuff. So you can absolutely do that as well. Let's see here. I think everybody's good. Cribbage board pegs win so many options. Yes. The thing with the cribbage board pegs, they usually come in different colors that are already preset. And I don't know if we're sticking with tradition. The pegs can be any color as long as there's 2 contrasting colors for your wins and your misses, or your hits and your misses, right? Golf tees. Yeah, golf tees working. John Thompson, golf tees work good too. And you can get 100 for $6.62. That's about right. Yep, absolutely. And you just cut them down to whatever size you want as far as the length, that kind of thing. Heck, if it's a long golf tee, you can get a couple of little pegs out of there. All right, so that is that, ladies and gentlemen, for Battleship for the night. Let's go ahead and close this out for a minute, and let's go to my next sign. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you through a very quick and simple text-on-text design. I got some graphics that I'm going to provide to you and everything as well if you want to make a variety of different signs and everything. But we're going to do kind of a text-on-text design. I'm going to show you the end result. You probably saw it in the thumbnail and everything, and then I'm going to take you through the layout. So let's first take a look at the end result, so that'll make you decide if you want to stick with me or not for this next few minutes. Let's preview all the toolpaths here. And basically, this is a simple little, I'm dreaming of a farmhouse Christmas sign. I like looking at different Christmas signs and holiday signs and things. And wait for it. All right, I got one too many toolpaths that should not be in there. Let me see here. One of these toolpaths do not belong. That one does not belong. So really quickly, let me reset that, and let's preview that visible toolpath again. That was a wrong one, but I love when I'm looking for inspiration, like of the, of different sayings or the type of signs and stuff like that. I love I love typing in things like, wood country signs, or wood Christmas signs, or wood whatever sign, right? Fun signs, and just seeing different things and stuff like that. And this particular text on text sign, I'm dreaming of a farmhouse Christmas, is just a fun and simple little sign. We're going to do another one it's just going to be a regular V carve here in just a second as well too. Just a merry and bright sign, merry and bright. It'll be kind of, we can do raised, or we can do just a simple V carve. But I want to take you through the making of this farm sign very quickly, so you can see how it's laid out and how the different layers and everything are done when you're doing a text on text type design. So stick with me. Here we go. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about this sign, 20-30 minutes. And let's go over to our 2D view. And let's first take a look at our layers. So when you start a job, this particular job here is a single-sided carving. I have it at 24 inches by 11 1/4 inches wide. So it's a 1x12 board, 24 inches long, 3/4 inches thick. I'm zeroing out on the material surface, and I'm starting in the bottom left corner of this particular sign. Once we set up the job, the sign, the first thing that we come in and set up is our layers. Now, by default, and this is going to be the same steps for every text on text sign in this method. I call it option 2. There's lots of ways. There's 3 main ways, and I teach a class on 3 main ways to create stacked text signs. This is option 2, I call it. But with this method, the layers are all the same, and the process is 100% the same. The only thing that changes is your wording and stuff. Your layer number 1 by default gets changed to the name original. It's our original layer. It's what we're going to do the entire design on. From there, we have a second layer called our top text layer. We have a third layer called our bottom text layer. We have a fourth layer called our welded text layer. And then if there's anything outside of the stacked text objects, the objects that are getting stacked on top of each other, if there's anything outside, like established states and this and that, that are not part of that do not stack or anything, I call that the lower third. I don't care if it's in the upper section, it's still the lower third is how I name that. You can call it whatever you want, but it's anything that's not part of the stacked text objects. All right, so in here, our original layout, we are in here, and we're using a font called not Grunge Play. Not Gunplay. That was not Gunplay. Let's see here. Our bear with me. Is it going to give me my font? No. The top text is Golden Ranger, again, from dafont.com. But let's go down. The other font, also from dafont.com. There is a font that we used, and it is called, I can't believe it did not save my font name. How dare it? Give me just a second. I knew something was going to throw me off. It is... It's almost like my fonts have disappeared. Hold on a second. Let me go back. And I can use defont.com to find it easier that way too. On not defont, but wordmark.it helps you choose your fonts for your creative projects. Wordmark.it. The particular font that we are working with tonight, let me get back up to it. That's Grand Avenue, Grand Adventure. There's Golden Ranger. That's my top text. Golden Ranger. I'm so sorry. Give me a second. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Let's see here. Why is it always one thing that's going to throw me off? You know what's crazy is it's like they're all gone. Give me just a second, ladies and gentlemen, because the font that we are in question they're using is not Dumbledore. It was Nuji Romantic. Nuji Romantic. Let me go to the ends. Where's my N? Nuji. Are you in here, Nuji? It's like it's not there. It's like it's gone. What? All right, let me close this and not save the changes. Weird. Let's go back in and reopen that. That was strange. All the fonts that I installed this afternoon are gone. I don't know where they went to. All right, here we go. Let's open that back up. I never seen anything like that. All right, let's go back in here and let's turn on our original. Now, that is a font. I don't want it changing up on me. There it is. Weird. It was gone a minute ago, was it not? Yes, tell me I'm not losing my mind. There it is. It's back. All right. Anyway, Nuji Romantic. Again, from defont.com and everything. Now, ladies and gentlemen, really quickly, from time to time, there are fonts that are on defont.com, new fonts that come out and everything. And they might be free for personal use, but they're not free for commercial use if you're selling your signs and things like that. However, generally, most of the fonts, even the ones for personal use, have a link that you can go to purchase a commercial license for. And the there's a new font on that was not, I don't know how long ago it was released on defont.com. And it was called Last Christmas, and it's a free for personal use font, Last Christmas. But it is it does have the ability to get to purchase a commercial license. Now, sometimes licenses are ridiculous. Like one of these fonts, that I looked into recently, the commercial use license was like $1,200. Go F yourself on that one, whoever set that price. Holy camole. That's crazy. $1,200 for a font. Anyway, but I don't mind spending 80, 100 bucks, 200 bucks. I don't mind that. I'm not going to spend $1,200 on a font, but I don't mind. I've spent money on fonts before and everything. And Last Christmas is one that I would actually, I think it's a cool font. I just want to show it really quickly. And I think it's worth its commercial license. If I can, I can, for a one-time fee, I can use it for unlimited commercial projects. It's 80 bucks US, $79 UK. But I do want to show it really quickly. I'm going to switch over to a blank layer really quickly here. And I just want to show on this Last Christmas font. So I'm going to say, let's switch up to the L's and go to Last Christmas. And the cool thing about Last Christmas is, let's say I type in Mary, right? Make sure that when you are in a layer, make sure it's active. Make sure that layer is active when you're typing in it. Let's try that one more time. Let's go to L for Last Christmas. Now, with Last Christmas and everything, if I type in Mary, let's go bigger. I want you to see this. So let's go 2.5 inches. All right. So if I type in Mary, MERRY, if I put a underscore down anywhere in the design, it creates a swish for the underscore. So if I come in here and I hit underscore, it's going to create this nice little swish right there. And then I'll type in Christmas, and the little I has a nice little Christmas star, and the T's have their nice little swirls and things. Christmas, we don't need a little T there. Christmas, right? It's a really beautifully done font and everything. And the underscores, you know, you can do single underscores, you can do multiple underscores to create different things in space and stuff. But it's a nice little font, really elegant for holidays and stuff like this. It's a really nice font. This particular font is free for personal use, but it requires to purchase a commercial license. And when you are downloading a file from the defont.com and you extract that file, let me go to Last Christmas right here. There's generally a README file here. And on the README file, there will, the font is for personal use, but it does have you can purchase a commercial use license. And you just come in here and copy this URL, pop on over to the internet and paste and stuff. And this particular font, the commercial use, is 79 euros, which is about $82 US, right? What that gives you is you can install this font on up to 5 computers, unlimited commercial projects, lifetime license. It's the complete character set and everything for that $80. Absolutely worth it for sure. I think it's a very cool font. A very elegant font and things. I think it's very cool with the underscores and things like that. And if we go into that instruction sheet here, it talks about use an underscore in any word to create a swash, right? You can do like Santa space underscore clause, and it'll put a swash on the C. Use multiple underscores to make different swashes, such as you'll, time type of thing. The fonts balances swashes and orientate details, create a formal yet inviting aesthetic ideal look. And it's a really nice look. And so if I, last example, let's come in here and let's do Santa Claus, right? And so create this nice little elegant, really pretty font. I mean, just a really well done font. And to be able to use something like that, especially holidays, you know, different things, or just anything, you know, I could see a lot of signs where it's used to, where this is used to and all, worth the $86. But there's another font that I was looking at, $1,200 for a commercial license, a little high there. And it wasn't the greatest font in the world either, but that's an expensive font, you know, $1,200. But $80, $100, I don't, like I said, I don't mind spending money giving people their due, right? You know, and everything, especially if I can use it and I didn't have to create it, right? I have no problem paying for projects and fonts and things like that, but to a certain extent. I'd have to sell a lot of signs to make my money back on that $1,200. All right. Anyway, so last Christmas, it's new on dafont.com. It is free for personal use. Follow the rules. But it does have a commercial license, 79 euros. Phenomenal. It's a beautiful, I think that's just a gorgeous looking font. Okay, let's get out of there and let's get back to our design. All right, so this particular font that we're using here is, again, from dafont.com. It is the Nuji Romantic font. For the Farmhouse and Christmas, both of them have the same font. And then the I'm Dreaming of that is also from dafont.com. I'm Dreaming of a Golden Ranger. Golden Ranger. Now, with this, I've got some graphics for you all, different little graphics that could, again, we're kind of running a little late for Christmas stuff, but hey, there's always next year. But I've got some vectors and stuff and everything that that y'all can use. I've got this bell set that we've got going on here, and an infinity heart. I just wanted something farmhouse, and I like the infinity heart, dual hearts and stuff. It's just a nice look. These swishes are not hard to make and everything. Especially now in version 12, if you don't have version 12, but now there is a new freehand tool, right? So you can freehand your drawings and things, and you can set your stableness. Now I'm a shaky kind of guy every once in a while, so I'm going to turn up my smoothness and my stabilization, right? And this way, when I am drawing and everything, it'll smooth out for me, you know, depending on my stabilization and stuff like that. It'll smooth out my lines and everything for me. Now, if I get a little screwed up on certain things, I can come in here and definitely go into node editing, and I can fix my little quirks and stuff and kind of, you know, get things where they flow a little bit better, right? But you can lay out your vectors and all with that new freehand tool very easily and stuff to create some really beautiful things, and give it a try. I like the kind of swirls and stuff for the top and bottoms of picture frames and all. So in our main layer, the original layer, we have our design completely laid out. We've got our border, farmhouse, I'm Dreaming of, and Christmas. Our little bells and our border. Now, the bells and border, that is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The bells and border, that's the lower third. That's the stuff that is not part of the stacked text. No part of these three objects down here are getting stacked on top of anything. They're not touching any of the stacked text and all. So I always consider that the lower third, and they belong in that layer, you know, kind of outside of the stacked text, because we're going to use those layers for our toolpaths, and we want that to be on its own layer. So if this was a wedding sign and that was the established date, you know, established 1995, you know, whatever, blah, 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 that kind of thing. Lower third. That's what I'm referring to when I say lower third. So when you create your design, now we got to take every element of this design and break it up into its layers. So just like we would say, our top text would go to the top text layer. The bottom text, that means the two items that are below, that are getting stacked below the top text. That's our bottom text layer. And then we have our border. Now, in order for these objects to look right when they carve and everything, we have to have another copy of them on another layer called a welded layer. So let's take a look at our layers here. We're going to turn off the original, and the top text layer gets a copy of the top text. It gets the copy of our border. We're always going to have some kind of border some way or another. There's going to be a border for a top text or for a stack text design. So the border goes on the top text layer too. And then notice I have these vectors down here. These vectors are offsets, boundary offsets of anything that's in my lower third layer. The reason these are here is because when the Toolpath carve the material away, when it carves the material away, this wood needs to stay here. It can't be milled away. So when we are looking at a carving of the top text Toolpath and everything, we have everything is getting carved away from around between our border and our top text. And it is, let it come in and finish up so they can see. There we go. All right. So when it gets carved all, this wood right here has to stay here, right? Because my stuff that's in my lower third, it's got to have somewhere to carve, right? It can't be milled away. So it needs to kind of stay there, right? Those vectors and all. Now, technically, this is getting milled away towards the end, so we don't really need these vectors in the top text layer, but we absolutely need them in the bottom text layer, or the welded text layer. That's what we use, is the welded text layer. So knowing that, we're just going to stick with what we have on the screen here. Top text layer has a border, it has our top text, and it has a profile outline, an offset from our profile outline of whatever's down below that's not part of the stack text. So that's our top text layer. Our bottom text layer is exactly that. It's our bottom text. The text that's getting stacked on top of, that's the bottom text, that's what's in that layer. No border, no nothing, just bottom text only. Okay? The welded text layer is a combination of the bottom text and top text kind of welded together to create this jumble of a border and on. I'm going to show you how it's done in just a second. I'm just kind of giving that verbal description. It is just kind of a top text and bottom text welded together to create an outline that when my bit is coming in here carving, it doesn't carve any of this wood away. This wood has to stay in between these vectors. It has to stay for the other toolpaths to be able to carve, right? So we weld all of this stuff together to create that boundary, if you will. And again, on this welded text layer, we also have that same offset, of the lower text and a border. So knowing all of that and everything, we're going to literally take the next few minutes, just a few minutes, and we're going to I talked a little too long on that last Christmas font, so we ran a little over, but we're going to lay this sign out again, keeping the original. We're just going to create the new layer, the layers, and also you can see the process. So I'm going to go into my welded text layer here, and I'm going to delete everything on it. Gone. I'm going to take my bottom text layer, delete that, gone. I'm going to take my top text layer, delete that, gone. So now I have 3, and my lower text layer, we're going to delete that, gone. All right, so now all I have is I have my empty layers and I have my original design, okay? My original design. I lay everything out in the original. So from the original, I'm going to take the top text and a border, and I'm going to copy that to the top text layer. Done. Okay. I'm going to take my bottom text, just the bottom text, and I'm going to copy that to the bottom text layer. Done. Welded text, only the right now, just the border. We're going to take just the border and copy that to the welded text layer. And then my objects that are not part of the stack text, these three items, they're going to get copied to the lower third layer. All right, so now I've made a copy of my entire design in its appropriate locations. And so the master, the original layer here, I'm going to lock that so it cannot be touched. I can't sit here and screw anything up and all that stuff. Let me turn this off and this off. So I can't touch anything on here to screw it up or anything. It's my original layer. It's there. It's locked. I'm going to turn it off now, and I'm going to start with the top text. We're going to start working our way through things. Now, when it comes to the top text layer, we clean up our top text. If there's any overlapping lines, we weld them together, get rid of them, and clean them up here. And then we're going to be offsetting our border inward by a certain dimension based on how deep we're doing our carvings. In this particular instance, I'm using a 60-degree V-bit, and I'm carving 1/8 of an inch deep for my top text layer and 1/8 of an inch deep for my bottom text layer. So 1/8 of an inch. Now, if I were to demonstrate by drawing out a 60-degree V-bit, let's not do that, 60 degrees. And drawing a line straight out from the tip, this would be, use your imagination, this is the V-bit sitting on top of my material, right? So the V-bit, 60-degree V-bit sitting on top of the material, Z0, the top of the board. Now, in here, in Kool-Aid, I'll ask your question here in just a second. Yes, sir. Hold on one second. Let me close this. Let me come back in. You see what I did there? I drew this bad boy on the original layer that was locked, and it's not letting me select it. So when you're working on a layer, make sure you make that layer active. Let me move this. I'm not going to copy it. I'm going to move this to the top text layer. I'm going to relock my original, but this is my V-bit on here. It wasn't letting me select it because I was in that locked layer. Make sure your layer that you're working in is active. You should be able to read it up here. It should be in bold letters and all that. Make sure it's active. That's very important. Otherwise, this whole thing gets screwed up. Let me really quickly come in here and say, Kool-Aid has a question, maybe a silly question. Can you mix and match fonts and letters that you want? Can you like a font, but some letters and numbers you don't like? You want to do something different. Can you do it from a different font? Sure, I could. Yeah, I mean, I can type in one letter at a time from one font and another from another font and everything. I can use, I can type out multiple things, and then I can literally move and organize them and put them together in a way that whatever I want. And you might see a sample of that, Kool-Aid. You might see that in like a kid's bedroom sign or a game sign or something, where they have a variety of different fonts. It might be a block letter versus a letter with rounded edges versus a letter with V-carve. or V edges, they might be different sizes and all and stacked. They might even be turned and rotated to create the kid's name or something, Billy Bob or whatever, right? The Janet, whatever, right? Or it could be, Playhouse, whatever the case may be, but the different letters and fonts put together, of different sizes and different shapes. Some might have little boxes around them. Some might have other shapes and hearts or whatever. Yeah, you can mix and match all you want, for sure. For sure you could. You just type out one object at a time, and then you move and lay it out however you want it to be. All right. So let's simulate. If I move this line up 1/8 of an inch relative to its current position, this little, from the point to where the edge of the blade intersects with the top of the material, that offset difference, measure horizontally from the tip to the intersection here, that 0.0722, we do not need in this instance 6 decimals. Let's go back here and try that again. At 0.0722, that is my magic number. That's my offset number. Because my text, my top layer is 1/8 of an inch and my bottom layer is 1/8 of an inch, that 1/8 of an inch, I need to offset certain lines and certain cuts so that my V cut from the very top to the very bottom of that 1/4 inch pocket, it's a nice transition all the way down on those edges of those letters and things like that. So this magic number is what I use when I am working in here. So what's going to happen is on the top text layer, my border gets offset inward by this number. So the border gets offset inward 0.0722. Select new, delete the original. We want to delete this rectangle and make the new one that 0.0722 in. So we click on, and we don't need sharp corners. So offset inward. Okay. Okie dokie. Now, it doesn't hurt anything. Let me hit undo. It doesn't hurt anything if you do have sharp corners. It doesn't hurt anything. It's not necessary, but it doesn't hurt anything. Either one, right? But definitely select new, right? Now, on the top text layer, besides that, let's get rid of this number here. Besides that, we need to clean up our text. What I mean by that is I have overlapping lines. So I simply want to take my text here and I want to weld that together and replace it. Okay. From there, I need to group that back together. Once I've cleaned up my text and grouped it back together, and I've offset my border inward, as of right now, the top text layer is done, except for anything that's in the lower third, those boundaries and all. I'll put them up in just a moment. They're going to go in here too. But right now, this is done. So I want to take my top text group, just the text, and I want to copy that to the welded text layer. So once I'm done welding it and grouping it back together, I want to move it down to the welded text layer. All right. Now we come over here and we turn on our bottom text layer, make sure it's active. On the bottom text layer, notice that some of my letters are overlapping, right? I've got some overlap going on here on the word farmhouse and Christmas. That's intentional. That's by design. This is the design, right? So all I need to do here is once again weld that together, replacing it, getting rid of those overlaps on the letters, and then group that back together. Now my bottom text is done. The bottom text layer is complete, 100%. Nothing's going on it. It's done. So I can take my bottom text and I can copy that to the welded text layer. Done. Turn it off. Now I'm going to skip past the welded text layer for a moment and I'm going to jump down to the lower third. Got to deal with it. Now in the lower third layer, I need to create some offsets around my objects for them so the wood gets protected. You know, that area of wood gets protected. And it doesn't need to be a lot. It just needs to be a little bit. So all I'm going to do is select my entire design on the lower third, and I'm going to offset it outward by that magic number, 0.0722 for the first time around. 0722, no sharp corners. Just select new. Okay. Now, that vector that was created, just the outside boundary of that vector, that's what I need to keep. Let me hold down the shift key and turn that off. Turn this one off and turn this one off. And then anything left that's pink gets deleted. Delete. I don't need all that extra stuff. I just need the outside boundary offset that I just created for the middle ribbon here, the outside ribbon on the bell, and the outside ribbon and bell here. I just need that. Not all that other crap that got created when I did the offset, but just those outside boundaries. And I'm going to take those right now and I'm going to copy them to the top text layer. I'm going to select it again. And I'm going to copy it to the welded text layer. That's the only two layers that get a copy of these lower third offsets, because it's the two layers that are getting used in our toolpaths. The welded text layer and the top text layer are the two layers that are getting used in our toolpaths. So that's done. My offsets being copied over are done. But I'm not quite done with the lower third. I got one more thing to do. I need to take my boundary here and I'm going to offset one more time outward, and I'm going to offset a certain distance, eighth inch, quarter inch, whatever. I want to make sure that I don't, that I don't offset out too much where I hit my border and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a quarter of an inch, 0.25, and I'm going to click select new and hit offset. Okay. And that creates this kind of boundary all the way around, and that's fine. And then I'm going to turn on my welded, my welded text layer. I'll use that. I'm going to turn that on, and I just want to see if my boundary hits any of my letters, and it does. Can't use it. That's too far out. 1/4 of an inch is too far out. It's going to hit my letters. So I probably overshot it. So maybe 0.16 or 0.17. So now that I know that, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to simply hit undo offset, and I'm going to redo it. And I'm going to lower that number back. Let's go. I'll go 0.17. Let me just check again. Oh, all right. So 16 is going to be my number. Let's turn that off. Undo. Let's go 0.16. I want to get as close as I can without getting there, because I don't want my bit hitting those letters when it's carving and stuff. So offset. One more time. I'm nervous. I'm not nervous. Let's go 0.15. That's it. That's it. No more. 1.5 is it. All right. I'm happy with that. So that's it. That's it. Done. It's done, done, done. Now, on this, all I need is this new line right here. So I'm going to turn it off, meaning I'm keeping it. And anything else that's pink, delete. Get rid of it. Get out of there. It doesn't need to be there. Don't need anything else. I just need that. So now that I've created that second offset, it doesn't get copied anywhere. It stays right there. We're going to use that later in the toolpath, but that's it. It's done. Okay. Now that I have done that, I can come back to my welded text layer, because there's one very important thing that I have to do with this layer, and what it is, I have to do exactly what the layer says. I have to weld this text together on my stacked text. So I have two groups. I have my farmhouse, which is group number 1, Farmhouse Christmas. And then I have my second group, I'm dreaming of those two copies. I need to select both of them and weld them together. But before I can weld them, I need to offset my top text. Now, remember on the top, this is not our top text. This is a copy of our top text, right? Our top text is still in the top text layer. We're trying to create a boundary that top text can get carved in. We're trying to save some wood and everything. And remember, I'm cutting an 1/8 inch deep with that top text, and it's cutting at an angle. The offset 0.0722. By the time the top of my text gets to that 1/8 inch cut, it's going to be offset by that 0.0722. So in the welded text layer, we offset this top text outward to create that boundary line. Offset outward 0.0722. Delete the original, meaning this copy here. Get rid of it. We don't keep it. We delete it. Select new. And when we click that, it's going to create this funky looking puffed up boundary of letters. It's all fine and well. That's fine. It's supposed to look like that. It's going to look all funky and all, but that's it. That's what we do. And now we group that together. And now we take our top text offset and our bottom text, and we weld those two objects together to create this boundary of so when that bit comes in and carves, it can't go past these lines, and all that wood can stay there, so all of our layers can get cut. That's it. We're done. We've laid out the design. We've copied things over to their layers, and now we're ready for tool pathing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete all these tool paths right here. We're going to create new ones. So here's how we do this. V-carve tool path. Starting at 0, cutting 1/8 inch deep, I'm going to be using my 60-degree V-bit. I'm also going to be using a combination of 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch end mills to get into those little nooks and crannies and everything. And I want my layers, my top text, welded text, and lower third layers can be turned on at this point. Those are the only 3 lights that should be on at this point. Leave those on because we're going to be using them. And so in my tool path, I'm going to come down to vector selection down here at the bottom. Raster cut like a printer back and forth with the grain. But vector selection, I'm going to come in here and it's going to open up this window. And I'm going to move it. Let's move it over here so you can see what happens. We'll move it down here. I'm going to make sure that all open and closed vectors are associated with the tool path that I'm about to calculate. And every vector on the top text layer, notice how it selected them, all the top text vectors, they're going to get associated with this tool path that I'm going to name top. Just top. It's fine. Calculate. And it's only going to calculate the vectors on that layer. Now, really quickly, just want you to know something here. Right now it says the selected vectors may contain overlaps, right, which may lead to unexpected results. Do you want to continue or do you want to go to the vector validator? Now, basically what this is I have one zero length span that was created when I did the offset of the text, of that text and everything, and that's what that overlap is. So I could click continue anyway, but how would you know that without going to the vector validator? So if we went to the vector validator and we search the selected, it'll show we have one zero length span. All that means is there's two nodes together without a line, arc, or curve in between them. I can hit fix the zero length span, to correct it and all that stuff. And I need to come back to my vector selector and make sure I reassociate it with the toolpath. And I can just hit calculate. So that's what that warning was. Just that I knew it was. I could have just clicked continue anyway and been done with it. So this is my top text layer, carving that 1/8 of an inch deep in between the border, the top text, and those vectors for that lower third, the boundary vectors. Okay, almost done, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try to wrap up in the next 4 minutes. Let's get out of here by 11 o'clock. Kool-Aid, man. What's up, bro? Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, dude. I looked over and saw this super Kevin Wow. You too, man. Welcome. So remember Kevin Wow, but Kool-Aid, man. Merry Christmas. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Shoot, man. I get myself a Christmas present now. All right. So appreciate that. Holy cow. I feel blessed. Thank you, Kool-Aid. All right. So this is the top text layer, right? Now I'm going to go in and create another V-carve toolpath. This time I've already carved an 1/8 of an inch deep. So we're going to start at an 1/8 of an inch. We're going to cut another 1/8 of an inch with the same bits. I'm going to call this bottom. And I'm going to associate the vector selector. I want to associate all open and closed vectors, associate with this toolpath all the vectors on the welded text layer. Bottom text, not the bottom text layer, the welded text layer. All those welded vectors and all that stuff. All right, so notice how it selected just those vectors automatically. And notice how it says automatic here. It's automatically associating those vectors that are on that layer with this toolpath. Calculate. Again, I have a zero length span. Let's go ahead, just go to the vector validator, search the selected. I've got that one zero length span hiding somewhere in the mix. And we're going to just hit fix. It'll clean it up, and then got to go back to the vector selector. Make sure I reassociate that with the toolpath and hit calculate. All right. All right, we're going to preview the visible toolpath. All right. Now, this is what we're looking at. So at this point, the stacked text, both the top text layer and the bottom text layer have been toolpathed and everything. So that should look complete. So the boundary with the stacked text that I'm dreaming of a farmhouse Christmas, that part is complete. The only thing that's not complete is the lower third stuff. So that's my next tool pass for that. Now, here's the deal. You know me, can't never do anything without screwing up just once. On here, notice that my offsets and everything go over my border lines right down here. And you remember I was trying so hard, of course, you know, to keep away from my letters and all. I forgot to kind of look down here. And I'm a goofball. You see that gap right there? My little ribbon here should have been slightly smaller and raised up a little. It was in the original design that I had all the toolpaths calculated for. But when I deleted everything and recopied to show you, I forgot to do that. I forgot to make that one minor change. So what you're going to see is you're going to see me kind of quickly go through and adjust that, okay? So how I'm going to adjust that is this boundary here I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to delete that. This offset and everything can stay. All I need to do is take this design. I'm going to bump it up. Boop, boop, boop. I want to kind of be just a little bit under there. And I want to make this smaller in size. I want to bring the stretch off in just a little bit like that. I want to bring that in and up. There we go. That's my fix. Now my offset could stay there because it needed to be there and all. The only other thing that I need to do, really quickly is, remember now, my two toolpaths are associated with what's on their layers, right? So all I have to do is very quickly come in here and turn on my top text layer and get rid of this boundary right here that I just changed. Remember, I just changed. I just moved it up and all. I just got to delete it. And then all I have to do is on that lower third, take that boundary and copy it back to that top text layer, right? I need to repeat that one more time on the welded text layer. Take this boundary and delete it. Come back to my lower third and take that outside boundary and just copy it to the welded text layer. Now, the cool thing about this is by doing that and those layers already being associated with, you know, the toolpaths, all I have to do on the toolpaths is simply hit recalculate all toolpaths and it'll recalculate them because the layers are assigned to the toolpath, not the vectors. Whatever vectors are on those layers get calculated regardless because they're on that layer that's associated with that toolpath. So very quick fix I had to do there. Now on my lower third, I just need to remake my 0.15 offset is what we ended up landing on the last time, if you remember, 0.15 offset. Okay. And again, all I need is the outside border here for that, and anything in between, hit delete. That pink stuff, get rid of that. Okay, so now I'm back. I fixed my little mistake, not mistake, but I just, my change. I made my change that I need to change. So now I'm ready to simply calculate the toolpaths for this lower third. So for the lower third, this outside boundary right here, this outside boundary here, and this outside boundary, I have a pocket cut that's going to cut down 1/8 of an inch deep with an 1/8 inch end mill. I don't need a 1/4 inch end mill for this. I'm going to use my 1/8 inch end mill. And it's going to be simply a pocket to height. And all it's going to do is mill off the 125 end mill. It's going to just mill off on my design. And let's very quickly reset the preview and preview all the toolpaths again, because remember, I moved things up, right? I moved that whole center piece up, so that vector got moved up. So let's recalculate or re-preview this toolpath. So here comes the top text. All right, now there is one second. Done. done. All right, give me just a second here. My automatic, there it is. I was about to say my automatic. That's calculated. Let me just look at my two toolpaths. Hold on a second, because one of them, for some odd reason, did not, it still had the lower area calculated for some odd reason. Weird. That's better. Okay. For some odd reason, it created a, the top text did not calculate correctly. Don't ask me why, but I had to go back and fix it. So that's what the preview's for, so you can catch those mistakes. Let's preview all the toolpaths once again. All I saw was my bottom ribbon, that centerpiece, got carved into when it shouldn't have been, right? It should be a solid piece of wood with no cuts in the middle of it, and there were cuts in the middle of it, and everything, and that's what made me question the toolpath. And it was bigger, and it was lower, and all that stuff. All right, so that's what it should look like. It's smaller and it's higher up. Wonderful, beautiful. So pocket to height is going to mill that down 1/8 of an inch. There we go. Now I'm going to come in, and on my lower third, on that lower third there, I'm going to come in and select my bells. Bells and the inside of my figure 8 design. I think it's that one too. Looking at my offsets, offset. Yes. All right. I need that. Yes. Wonderful. V-carve toolpath. Starting at 1/8 of an inch down, because I'm already milled off 1/8 of an inch, cutting another 1/8 of an inch. I only need the 1/8 inch end mill with this 60-degree V-bit. We're going to calculate this toolpath. This will be our lower. I'll just call it lower. This will be our lower. Calculate that, and we should end up with a design that comes in and V-carves all of this stuff and cleans everything up and blends it in with that bottom 1/4 inch pocket depth. Preview the visible toolpath. If we have any residue left over on the edges or anything like that, then I just need to offset out just a tad bit further and clean it up. And I do have residue. Look very carefully. You see this little bit of residue right here? You see this around this edge? That should not be there, right? It means my V-bit did not, and my end mill did not get out quite far enough to clean up that area. So what that means is on that lower toolpath, the one that I just calculated, this particular vector right here, and right here needs to go out just a smidge more. So I'm going to offset it outward a little bit more. And I'm going to recalculate that toolpath. Select that, and the inside. This. And was there one on this side? No. Not that. All right. Calculate one more time. I just had to go out just a little bit further. And my bit should come in and clean. Wait for it. Is that showing just my V bit? I think that's just showing where my V bit is cutting because the 1/8 inch bit can't fit in there. Let me just verify that real quick. I can verify that quickly because I have a 16th inch end mill. Let me just throw a 16th inch into the mix just on this one toolpath. And I think the marks that I'm visually seeing, I think that's just the 1/8 inch couldn't fit, so the V bit had to clean up. So let me see here. Yeah, that's all it was. Okay, so it was just showing where the V bit was cleaning up. All right. Wonderful. So what I should have here is this, text on text, stack text sign here that, creates that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's almost midnight, right? We kept y'all up forever and ever and amen. Thanks for hanging out with me. Let me hit save on this. The one sign that I wanted to do was a merry and bright sign. It was a very simple V-carve sign. I have a 15 inch by 1 inch stool. You go to Lowe's. If you ever went to Lowe's, if you're in the US, they sell these stool round discs in pine or oak, or in my case, I have teak and all, but they come in different diameters and different things. So I have a 3/4 inch thick, 15 inch disc. And I was going to make a little merry and bright sign, and it was going to use it was just going to use these little swishes and all, but it's just literally, it would have been just the word merry, the word bright with the two little swishes and everything. I think you get it after all of this and everything, but I'm not going to keep you up to midnight on a school night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all very much. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, Kool-Aid, thanks for the super chat. That really helps, especially around the holidays and stuff. Everybody, we will see you again on January 9th. That's when we're going to be back. I will, in just about an hour, you'll have in the description of this video, that you're watching right now, there'll be a download link to download all the vectors, and you'll have the vectors for this Dreaming of a Farmhouse Christmas sign. I will go ahead in the back end and make the merry and bright sign for you and include that in the downloads. You'll have the vectors for that as well as all the vectors for the parts and everything, and the links, again, the links of the Battleship game. If anyone wants to make that, if you do make that, I really want to see pictures of it. Send me pictures of it at, laney.shaughnessy@spindletv.com. I really want to see that. All right, everybody. Y'all have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever holiday you you do at the end of the year, depending on where you're from. And Happy New Year coming up in January. We will see you again on the 9th. I'll be putting out community posts and everything on the channel, keeping everybody updated on things that I'm going to doing in this time off, as far as getting the shop ready and all that stuff and everything. Keep an eye out for that. We'll see you again very soon. Y'all have a blessed holiday season and stay safe. We'll see you next year. Bye.